Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another video. Today we are going to make our official wildcard and our official playoff bracket. Last week, to end off the regular season, we ended up going 164 and 107 throughout the season, going 10 and 6 last week. You guys, these are the games that I got right, some that I got wrong. Those that I essentially got wrong was mostly within playoff teams, non-playoff teams. I mean, there was some playoff teams that I got wrong, but for the majority, those playoff teams, I did get those ones right. Now, what we will do is that we'll go in order of the game time for the wild card, but then in terms of after the wild cards, we'll just go in order of this game, this game, this game, this game. We'll just do it like that. Because what else are we supposed to do at that point? Like, we don't have game time for those ones yet. So, the first game on the schedule will be the Panthers at the Rams. And now, for this game... Okay, we can go a little bit more in depth on each team for the wild card than, I guess, go a little bit more in depth on Broncos Seahawks for that divisional round. And I don't really need to go in depth for like 4 games in a row for like some teams or anything like that. So we'll only go in depth for like the first game that I have each team in. So for the Panthers, their team is consistently just more the inconsistent side. Bryce Young has not been like all too great this year. He's had some good games and some not so good games. One of those good games coming against the Rams earlier on the season. The defense, I'm not in love with it. It's a little bit more flip-floppy. I am more on the side that they're like more of a mid to bad defense, but that's how they are. Rushing game, that's probably the strongest part of the offense, but even then, they've been lacking a little bit recently. So, there's not really much to love about the Panthers. For the Rams, I love the passing game. I just love their offense in general. I feel like they have one of the best offenses in the league. Now, the past few weeks, it has been a little bit of a tough ride for the Rams. They had Devontae Adams out, so I think him coming back will boost the Rams offense up again to how it was before these past few weeks. Like from the Lions game and before, really, since that Seahawks, that Falcons, and even this past week was when Devontae Adams was out. So I think that is going to provide a massive boost for the Rams. For their defense, I'm pretty good with their pass defense. I think the pass defense is a good one, but their rush defense I am worried about, considering just how the Falcons ran on them, the Seahawks ran on them, the Panthers ran on them when they ended up facing the Rams before. It's a little bit of a mess right now for that rush defense, but I think the Panthers' run game has weakened, and I just don't trust Bryce Young enough to where I am going to go with the Rams in this game. It's probably the most obvious pick out of all of the 6, but that's where I'm at with the Rams right now. And obviously, I'm not going to as much depth later on for any of the Rams games, but that. But yeah, that's where I'm at with the Rams. I think they will absolutely dominate the Panthers. As you know what, I'll try to give score predictions for each of these games as well. I'll just say the Rams is 34-17 for this game. But the Bears and the Packers, this is a huge matchup for the Bears, as the last time they won a playoff game was in 2010, that week before they faced the Packers for that championship game. Now, going into depth on each team, let's start with the Packers. Is for the in-depth. Jordan Love has been hurt for a little bit, but I do at least somewhat like his passing abilities within like any game. I'm not going to say this game in particular, but well, technically I should say because the Bears defense isn't all too great, but we'll get into the Bears a little bit. The Packers, I do like their rushing game though. I do, which is worrying for the Bears, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to be an excellent potential playoff pusher. Their defense I do worry about a little bit, considering Micah Parsons has been hurt and they're all on a losing skid. Particularly because of the defense. They got ran over by Derrick Henry. They also did get 34 points scored on them by the Broncos. The loss to us was in the middle of that, but now that one, as much as I'm a Bears fan, I have to admit that one did have a bit of luck on us. And it's in order for them to have lost that game and for the Bears to have won. But you know what? We still did win. But I just don't trust the Packers defense as much as I did previously. For the Bears, I could say about the same thing about with the defense. Like, I think the Bears defense will turn out better than the Packers defense in this game from the turnover side of things. Since, yeah, the Bears is not really too great on yardage metrics of defense, but they have the highest turnover differential in the league. And I think that can push them to win some playoff games. And when you just look at the offense, Caleb Williams, he has been a little bit iffy some games, but he can throw the ball. He is one of those clutch quarterbacks this year, and he could win games off that. And considering the rushing game is generally pretty good, you can see quite a bit of like good offense coming from the Bears as well. And when I just look at this matchup, I see this one just being like one of those weird close ones. I'm just going to say 21-20 for the Bears. You think I'm going to pick the Packers to win this one? No, I'm picking the Bears, man. Like, the Packers are on a losing skid. They just are not that good compared to what some people want to say to you. Now, yes, Bears have just been pretty lucky throughout the season. I can admit that, but you gotta admit that the Packers ain't like an elite team at all. And this is it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and I think the Bears will take that fourth quarter. And that's where I'm at with this game. Moving on to the Jaguars and the Bills, which is the third game and the first one of Sunday, but the third game overall of the Wildcard weekend. The Jaguars, they have a bunch of things going for them recently. They are one of the hottest teams of the NFL right now. Their offense, Trevor Lawrence has been playing rather good recently. Jacoby Myers coming in severely helped Trevor Lawrence in the passing game. And I don't necessarily love their rushing game recently, as they just have not been like all too great recently. But their offense can still score a lot of points per week. Now, a lot of the recent opponents that the Jaguars have had was easier opponents. The Titans, the Jets. There was some Colts games, which the most recent Colts game was a little bit of a iffy one on offense for the Jaguars, but like I said previously, even within the Colts, I think their defense is a little bit more inconsistent recently, so I'm going to let that one slide. But for the Jaguars defense, I do really like their defense. Their rushing defense is one of the best in the NFL, and their passing defense isn't like too bad, but it's definitely not like one of those strongest pass defenses you can have. But I think that really does bode well with the Bills. Like, actually, you know what? The strengths and weaknesses of the Jaguars fit perfectly with the Bills, and the strengths and the weaknesses of the Bills fit with the Jaguars. Because for the Bills, they have become more of a rushing team, which matches up with that rush defense. But Josh Allen can throw if needed. So there is at least a little bit of that. But James Cook has been an absolute motor for the Bills offense. And on the defensive side, I like their pass defense. But the rushing defense is what worries me. And that goes is against what Jaguar likes to do of passing the ball. And I think that will spell trouble for the Jaguars. But also I think the matchup also spells trouble for the Bills. Like I think this can be a little bit lower scoring than what some people say. However, I do think by maybe like 27 to 24 type of game, I think the Jaguars will pull it out. I just think the Jaguars is like that much better of a team than the Bills are this year. And I kind of worry about the Bills coaching a little bit with how that Eagles-Bills game ended. So there is at least a little bit of that as well in my mind. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars here. And honestly, both teams have strong enough rosters overall to make it fall into the postseason. It's just like that they have to face against each other in the first round. But I do think the Jaguars ends up going in and winning this game. Next up, we have the Eagles going up against the 49ers. They're finishing the NFC side of the wild card over here now. The Eagles, they have been a lot more of an inconsistent team this season. It's like Jalen Hurts. He has not done all too great passing this year. I don't really love their passing game. As Saquon Barkley, when he can get going. But I just don't love the offense in general this year. Since against those better teams, the Eagles just struggled. They struggled against the Bills in Week 17, and before having the Commanders and the Raiders, before that, they struggled to get a lot of points against the Chargers, the Chiefs. Now, yes, the Chargers and the Chiefs has better defenses as well, but the 49ers does not have that great of a defense. But I just worry about that offense. The Eagles' defense, based on what I have seen, against those great offenses, they don't do as well. Now, the Bills in this game, they only allowed 2 touchdowns to the Bills. However, you kind of have to see that just in general, the Bills was playing a little bit injured. Josh Allen was not 100% in that game. And then when you even take into consideration the previous 2 teams that had at least competent offenses, the Chargers is not 100% with Justin Herbert, and then the Chiefs just has not played all too well this year. And okay, even if you look at the Eagles, let's look at the Eagles' schedule for a second, right? Why am I even looking at the Chiefs? Why did I even say the Chiefs? They're Week 2. No. The previous competent offense, was before the Chargers was Chicago, 24. Dallas was 24. And I guess you could make sense with these two. But, like, overall, they have not had, like, the best defense. And when you look at the 49ers, they are, like, all offense and no defense. I think the 49ers, because, like, Christian McCaffrey is awesome. The passing game is awesome for the 49ers, but their defense is just not good. And it showed against the Bears, where both the Bears and the 49ers had good offenses, but not so great defenses. And you saw how that game went with 42-38 final score. So both of those teams, so based on that game alone, you can tell exactly how the 49ers are this season. Now, when it comes to this game, I kind of have to... Okay, we know how the 49ers are. How good is the Eagles going to play in this game? Because they can be inconsistent. And they have had a habit at points throughout this year to have just not played all 4 quarters. And if they can play all 4 quarters, I think the Eagles can. But I'm not sure how consistent the Eagles is going to play. And I'm actually going to go ahead and take the 49ers in this one. Setting up the 49ers to head over to Seattle and the Rams to face the Bears for the divisional round. I think this is what's going to happen in the NFC. For the AFC, the next game that we have is the Patriots and the Chargers. The Patriots, what a season they have had so far. The Patriots had such a great offense and an all-right defense against these easy opponents throughout the whole season. So there is a little bit of, are they going to be that great in the playoffs? There is questions about that. And I think for the Patriots, well, let's get this out of the way. Drake May has played excellent throughout the year. And in the rushing game, I'm kind of in the middle of the rushing game, honestly, because I think the only, like, truly good part about the Patriots team against, like, the tougher opponents is going to be the passing offense, because I'm not entirely sold on the defense heading into the playoffs. And that could spell troubles against these tougher opponents. The Chargers, what a season they have had. Just barely getting the 7th seed. Actually, not just barely. Well, the Colts was like 3 games behind. But they have had some troubles throughout the year. They lost to the Chargers, lost to the Giants and the Commanders early on in the season. And honestly, I think the rushing game is more of a middle rushing game. Omar and Hampton's been injured throughout the year. It's about, like, the whole middle of the year, to where I cannot say that the rushing game has been, like, great throughout the year at all. The passing game, Justin Herbert ended up getting injured a little bit recently, so there is some bits of washing out to go through. And for the defense, I'm not overly sold on the Chargers defense, actually. Like, I know we just did this with the Eagles, but let's look at the Chargers in these past few games. Yeah, you had the Broncos without even playing your starters. The Texans offense has not really been all too great this year. The Cowboys offense, I feel like they took a slump a little bit. Like, okay, you could probably say the Cowboys. Chiefs, that was the game Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Eagles, like I said before, they are not super consistent. 14 points to the Raiders. The last, like, truly good offense that you faced, you allowed 35. So, there has to be at least something going on with that bit. And the last time I would even say before the Jaguars was probably the Colts allowing 38. Like, you have not had, like, too great of a defense throughout the whole year that I think the Patriots is going to end up winning this game. I think it is going to be a pretty close game. And wait, I don't think I even said what I thought the score would be for the 49ers Eagles. I think it's going to be something weird, 26-22 for the 49ers and Eagles. But for the Chargers and Patriots, I could see it being a little bit more on the high scoring side. But what I don't remember what I had for this game. I think it was something high scoring like 31-27. But it could have been something lower. Overall, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to get score prediction stuff anymore because I just completely forgot what I had in my head before. But after those first few games. But for the Patriots and Chargers, I do think it's going to be a close game that the Patriots end up coming on top. And for the final game of the wild card, we have a Monday night game between the Steelers and the Texans. For the Steelers, they have been very inconsistent throughout the season. Their offense, the passing game, I do think the passing game has been a little bit lackluster recently. Aaron Rodgers has not played all too well. But if you are considering the past 2 weeks, ignore those two. DK Metcalf is going to be back after a suspension. So ignore the past 2 weeks between the Browns and this past game of the Ravens. And for that offensive, for the passing offense side of things. The rushing offense, I do actually like their rushing offense for this game. And just throughout the playoffs. Because Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren, they have become a good duo throughout the second half of the season. And I'm excited to see how well they do on the rushing side of things. Their defense, I do think, is a little bit lackluster. I've not been a fan of the Steelers' defense throughout the whole season. And it's a bunch of old guys, but I do think the Steelers' offense would propel the Steelers if they end up winning games in the playoffs. The Texans. I am a critic of their offense a little bit because CJ Stroud has not played all too great this year. Their rushing game has never gotten going. We just had a guy named British Bucks be the rushing leader of the Week 18 game of the Colts. Who knows who's going to do well in the rushing offense of the Texans this year for the playoffs. And like I said before, the Texans' offense has just not really been all too great. And so there is cause for concern. At least they're facing a not too great Steelers defense. But even then, I still have to worry about that offense. For the defense side of things, they've been rather good throughout the year. But recently, I kind of have my worries, actually, because they didn't do all too well against the Raiders. And in that first half, they were playing their starters, and they didn't They did not play all too well defensively against the Colts. So there's some cause of concern heading into the playoffs on the defensive side in my head about the Texans defense. And I think in those cause of concerns is going to be real, that I'm going to have my upset of the playoffs, my true upset of the wildcard weekend being this game, as I'm going to take the Steelers because I don't trust the Texans defense right now. And I think the Steelers offense is better than the Texans defense, Texans offense in itself. And I don't really trust either defense. So I think I am going to go ahead and go with the Steelers in this game. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and say the Steelers, and they will face the Denver Broncos. Now, we're going to move on to the divisional round. Broncos and Seahawks is the only two teams I'm going to go in-depth to for the divisional round. Then, after those two, I'm not going to do, as in-depth anymore. For the Broncos and Steelers, okay, here's my in-depth of the Broncos. For the Broncos, their defense is absolutely legit. I do think their defense can keep these games close. And their passing defense is good. I think their rushing defense is more on the good side as well. Their defense is great. The problem that I have for the Broncos is their offense. Throughout the season, it seems like they cannot win anything, any game, by more than a touchdown. And even against, those tougher opponents, those ones they end up losing to. So, there is cause of concern for the Broncos. And it's on that offensive side. And when we talked about the Steelers, we said they were more, not that great in defense, but good in offense. So, and I think for this game, this is going to be one of those lowest scoring close games that the Broncos has had throughout the season, as I think the Broncos do end up pulling it out, because I know we said about the fourth quarterback and comebacks for the Bears, but the Broncos, they ended up, even in those close games, just winning all those one-score games, and I think that will continue for this game, putting the Broncos into the conference championship. Next up, we have the Patriots and the Jaguars for the divisional round. When we talked about the Patriots, I said about how I think the passing game is going to be their strong suit for these tougher opponents, as I think the Jaguars is a tougher opponent. The Jaguars, I trust their offense a lot, and the defense, I think their passing defense is going to be a little bit more of the problem for the defensive side, but I didn't really, but compared to the Patriots, I said I liked the Jaguars' rush defense, and I think that's going to hamper the Patriots' offense a little bit, as I think we are going to see a Broncos and Jaguars matchup in the conference championship on the AFC side. Moving over to the Seahawks and 49ers, let's go ahead and do my in-depth Seahawks now, as their defense is very, very good. I do like their rushing and passing defense. Their defense is so good. They only allowed 3 points to the 49ers. They only had 3 points to the Panthers the week before in the first half, and only allowing 10 overall. Week 16. Okay, that was just saying TBD. I won't be able to I tried anything but I thought it would be TBD. But overall, I think the Seahawks is overall going to be a force on defense. I want to just go to the Rams, do this, just to show you how I think the defense is going to be. Okay. The defense only allowed 3 in 10 to the 49ers and Panthers against the Rams, which is a tough opponent, and was not too great. But the Colts only allowed 16, to the Falcons you only allowed 9, to the Vikings you only allowed 0. Like, I think you all overall going to have a great performance of the defense for the Seahawks. On the offensive side, I do worry a little bit. Sam Darnold did not play all too great. Granted, he did play better than the last year's Week 18 matchup, but he didn't play all too great in my mind. And for what you would expect of Sam Darnold against that 49ers defense, of not that great of a defense. And against that not great defense, you'd expect fireworks, but he did not provide fireworks. The Seahawks only scored 13 points that game. I think the offense is going to be troublesome for the playoffs, but I think for this game, we're going to see a similar result to that Week 18 matchup of just the Seahawks winning. I think it'll be higher scoring than that in Week 18 matchup, but I think we will see the Seahawks win that game, as I think that defense propels the Seahawks to the championship game. Next up, we will have the Bears and the Rams going at it in the divisional round. Now, the Bears is a lot more offense than defense. The defense can create turnovers, but I do think the offense will provide quite a bit of scoring in this game. The Rams, I really like the offense. And the defense, I'm a little bit worried about the rushing defense, but that passing defense, I think, can be enough to stop the Bears. But overall, this is where I have to side against the Bears here. The Rams are that much better of a team against the than the Bears, as outside of turnovers, our defense is not really all that great. So against a great offense against the Rams, like we saw with the 49ers game, I think we're just going to be outmatched. So I think in a high-scoring game, the Rams would end up winning that one. Now we get to the conference championship games, with the first one being the Broncos and the Jaguars. I think both of these defenses is going to provide a more low-scoring game. In the Broncos, the defense is legit, but I don't really trust their offense all too much. For the Jaguars, their defense isn't as great against the run, but the Broncos has not really been all that great on the offensive side in general. But I do like the Jaguars' offense a lot. We saw this game in the latest season end when the Jaguars were in the hot streak. And the Jaguars won by 2 touchdowns against the Broncos. And while I think it may be a little bit closer and a little bit lower scoring, I think the result is going to be the same. I think we are going to see the Jaguars in the Super Bowl on the AFC side. I just think the Jaguars are the best team in the AFC right now. As they are in their hot streak, they have great offense, they have that rush defense. The passing defense is a little bit troublesome, but I just think overall the Jaguars are the best team in the AFC right now, especially over the Broncos. The Patriots has been facing that easy competition. And then I just think the Jaguars will overall make the Super Bowl this year. On the NFC side, we have round 3 of Seahawks versus Rams. And what a great NFC championship this would be. As when these two faced, the point differences between the two games was combined by 3. So we are going to see an absolutely great game. The Seahawks, I do worry about their offense within the playoffs, especially Sam Darnold in big games. The Rams, I trust their offense so much, but I do trust the Seahawks defense more than I do the Rams defense. I think this is going to be another one of those close games, but I think Devontae Adams coming back will be huge for the Rams, as I think the Rams will end up making the Super Bowl over the Seahawks, as we have a Jaguars versus Rams Super Bowl matchup. The Jaguars and the Rams, I think, are the best 2 teams in the best team out of their particular conferences. And I think this is going to be a big offensive Super Bowl that I think will be exciting to watch. And who do I think would win this matchup? Now, the Jaguars, I said about their defense being more of a rushing defense. And for the Rams, I said their defense being more of a passing defense. The thing is, though, the Rams like to pass the ball, with the one helping their cause. The Jaguars, they like to pass the ball with the rushing helping their cause. But like I said with the defense, I like the Rams' passing defense more. And I think in this matchup, that is a key to who ends up winning, as I think the Rams will end up winning the Super Bowl this year over the Jaguars. And let's say this game goes towards the high-scoring realm of like 37-34. Yeah, that high-scoring. I think this is going to be an electric Super Bowl where a play could decide it, but the Rams ends up winning their second one with Stafford. And with that, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys liked it, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!